Welcome to our series called Go. Go therefore and make disciples is arguably the most explosive passage in the Bible. It's where Jesus calls his disciples to go out, to go on mission with him. Now, go make disciples. The make disciples is the imperative in that statement. The problem is that we often don't go. It's just getting us to go. Get the followers of Jesus to actually go on mission. We often talk about next steps. It's those first steps. So to go seems to be the problem. Now, why we don't go, it could be that we're timid. It could be we get sidetracked. It could be that we get knocked out from life events and we simply don't get back up to go. But I'll tell you what's not the problem is the what is not the problem. Is we know what to do. You know, God is, He speaks to us spirit to spirit, so we know what to do. It's a problem of actually getting up and doing it. And before you freak out about what it is God is calling me to do, it's not typically calling everybody to quit their job, sell everything, and to move to a foreign land. In fact, most of the time, it's just simply to be who you are right where you're at. There's people all around you that God wants you to reach, and He can use you best at reaching the people that are around you. So He just needs you to go His way. There's a word for that. It's called obedience. If we'll just simply obey God and be who He wants us to be where we're at, then we can partake in the Great Commission in the way He intends for us to do. And when we do that, God will do what we call miracles. He'll change lives. We can't change lives, but God can do that. So we know what to do. That's not the problem. The challenge in this series is to get us out of our comfort zone, to get us up and out. To get them, I think my parents used to say something. My dad would say something like, "Get up and at 'em." That's what it is. We need to get up and at 'em, and so I want to encourage you to take this series, this series of sermons, and this time together, even our small groups, seriously, as we all just get up and go now. Since it is a big mission, a huge undertaking to save the world, who is going with us? Who is on mission? Who's in? Who's all in? Jesus' effort to save the world, to change the world, started with 11. And the number 11 is the first hint that Jerusalem has a problem. Jesus has done the business He came to do. He died and He rose again. But prior to that, He trained His disciples for their mission to continue the task of executing the mission. The team goes from 12 to 11 right before takeoff. But let's back up a second. If you study the Gospels, you'll see that the numbers go from 120, 70, down to 12, down to 11. But they had gotten up as high as 120 at one point, and maybe even more than that, but the Scriptures talks about the 120, the 70, the 12, and 11. But the numbers dwindled as the reality of the mission's cost was coming due. And who was really committed? Who was going to pay the check? Who was going to do whatever it took to get this mission off the ground, to execute the mission, to fulfill it? Now, Judas checked out early. And there are a lot of guesses concerning his motivation, but the truth for sure is that he was not totally into doing it God's way. He was not committed. Successful missions are dependent on a group or team that is committed to the call. That is, those who know that the mission is going to cost them. It's going to cost them time, money, talent, blood, sweat, and tears. When this church got started, I quit my job. And that was one of the things that started. That was a counting the cost measure. But then I started meeting with some people, and most of them I had not really known. We met and started doing a little Bible study on like a Thursday night. Somebody would play guitar, we'd sing a little worship, and that would go with our Bible study. And then after several weeks, it looked like I had the people in that group, in that small group, that would be a worship leader, someone that would work with our youth, someone that would work with our children. I thought it was uncanny, amazing, miraculous how God had sent the people to us. And it's time now to plant the church. I mean, who's really in? You find out who's really in when we start meeting on Sundays. So I said, hey, we're going to start meeting this next Sunday. And I was very excited because, it's just unbelievable how God had put us together. But a funny thing happened that week. Not really that funny to me. One by one, each of these people called me up. They began calling one at a time and just said, look, I'm not going to be a part of that. And by the time I got to Friday, they had all bailed out. They just, what had happened is they counted the cost. I mean, at that point, we started, we're going to meet on Sundays, you're really in. They really counted the cost that they were going to be a part of this new thing. And they knew it wasn't for them, for whatever reasons, and that was it. Oh, and when it comes to the disciples of Jesus, by the way, the 11, they weren't the best of the best. They were the best available. They were committed. And so that could be a lesson for us, lest we think we're something. We really are the ones that have made ourselves available to God out of our obedience. And, God does what he does with us, but the only really good quality that his disciples have is they hung around, they made themselves available, and they stayed. God doesn't look for perfection. He looks for our obedience. And that comes out in our availability. Are we making ourselves available to him? So, do you have what it takes? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? Are you committed? Are you all in? See, the basic trait of a disciple of Jesus, a follower of Jesus, committed follower of Jesus, is to be available for the Lord's pleasure.